Deep in the woods across most of the Americas is a monster that many have seen, but few have an explanation for. It looks like a deer and acts like a deer, until suddenly it doesn't. The uncanny feeling you get when you see it is something that will haunt your dreams. January 8th, 2020. A young rancher named Billy on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains is checking his game cameras when he notices something not quite right. There's always plenty of deer in the area. He's seen them on almost every camera check. But something about the deer he caught this time isn't quite right. Its legs look disproportionate to its body size, and it's almost as if it's staring into the camera, aware that it's being recorded. Of course, lots of weird things happen by coincidence, especially in the Appalachian Mountains. So at first he brushes it off and goes about his day, until the next time he checks his game cameras, when similar things start appearing. January 13th, 2020. Billy goes out to check his cameras again. He brings a digital camera with him, just in case he wants to take any photos while out on the trail. He approaches the first of several of his cameras, only to find that one of them has been knocked off the tree it was strapped to, and it just so happens to be the camera that had previously caught the weird deer during his last check. This time, the camera is found on the ground, lens side down, and only has 2 images on it. The first image is too blurry to see what set off the motion sensor, but was most likely a bird or maybe a bat. But the second image was another deer, this time a small buck, and he also seemed to stare straight into the camera, as if he knew the purpose of it being there. Realizing the animals may have gotten used to the camera being in this spot, he decides to move it to another tree in the same area. But then a thought occurs to him. Do the animals know what a camera is? Do they even comprehend why it's there? Normally, the answer would be no. But these deer seem to be more alert than that. They were aware of the camera's presence, and that wasn't very deer-like behavior at all. But with the afternoon sun starting to make its way down behind the trees, Billy decides he's just being paranoid, sets up his camera per usual, then heads back to his house. January 18th, 2020. Billy checks his camera that he's moved to a new position on the opposite side of his usual game trail. But what he sees, he cannot for the life of him explain. There's something deer-like standing in front of his trail cam, but it looks like something half deer, half goat, and with some weird thing sticking out of his face. It's missing an ear, and once again, it's looking at the camera. Its front legs are shorter than its back legs, and something about it just isn't right. He looks around the area for animal tracks, wondering if maybe that'll help him identify the creature, but none are found anywhere on the ground, not even regular deer tracks. He puts his camera back up on the tree, his head puzzled by what kind of animal he's captured, when suddenly in the distance he hears a strange sound. Some unholy combination of howl and elk bugle rings out in the distance as Billy turns to leave the forest and head back home. He walks the same path he always does when he enters and exits the forest that's on the edge of his ranch. But as he walks, he hears a bizarre crunching behind him. He turns and neither sees nor hears what's in the area with him. But as he begins walking again, the noise continues behind him, getting closer and closer as he starts to speed up, realizing the terrifying truth. Something that he can't see, that he can't identify, is following him and instilling a fear that only prey being hunted can understand. He begins to jog as his feet start fleeing without his mind even telling them to. His body had taken over and his survival instincts were screaming for him to run. But his logical mind couldn't understand why. It's just a deer, right? Or something deer-like. Maybe it's a new species undefined by science yet. This could be a discovery of a lifetime right in his backyard. But he was wary. Something wasn't right. It was like a deer, but not a deer. He made his way home and never saw what was following him with his own eyes. But a few days later, when he went back for his cameras, he saw what it had been, and he felt his stomach fall out of his body when he saw the photos. January 23rd, 2020. This creature was messing with him. Whatever it was not a deer. On the game trail camera, timestamped just minutes after he'd left the area before, a deer, or what appeared to be one, was caught staring at the camera with its tongue hanging out of its mouth. Down the trail at another camera, several deer were captured in a single picture, standing on their back legs like human beings, seemingly having a conversation. A ways farther into the woods, a photo was captured of something that resembled an elk, but with fangs instead of regular teeth. Deeper into the woods, the elk shape in the photo had completely come undone and seemed to be morphing into some completely different monster between two single frames of photos. Was someone pranking him? He thought to himself. There's no way these images could be real, right? He continued looking through a photo after photo, and finally, he found the most terrifying one of all. This animal was not a deer. It was unknown, unnameable. It was terrifying. Stood like a man, but with no clothing. It had no fat on its body at all, and only thin muscle definition. It had long, claw-like fingers, fangs, and deep-set eyes. It was nearly all white and was staring directly into the lens. It knew it was being watched and was watching him right back. He jolted up in fear, dropping his camera as a shriek rang out in the woods. The combination of animal and humanoid wailing shook Billy all the way up to his bones, and he took off running as fast as he could, feeling the breath of the forest on the back of his neck. He heard rushed footsteps behind him and glanced over his shoulder, but all he could see was movement in the foliage behind him, and no definition of what was actually there. He tripped once and felt as if something had grabbed at his ankle, but he was so terrified that the second he felt his pant leg brush whatever it was, he jumped another 2 feet in the air, scampered off in a panic from the ordeal. Billy made it back home. He told everyone what he'd seen. But when no one believed him, he decided to sell the ranch and move to the city. Little does he know, just like most animals, deer and Not.A.Deer alike have been known to congregate where they feel safe. That's often where people feel safest too. Billy never went out in the woods again. That creature was not a deer, and honestly, who knows what else is wandering around the woods these days?